Assalamualaikum and a very good day to all of you, especially Miss Sally. Today, me and my teammates are going to present our research on code mixing among band students. So, how does a person define code mixing? A research in psycholinguistics defines code mixing as the transition of one linguistic unit, such as words, phrases, clauses, in one's language to another within a single. To put it much simpler, it is a mix between one or more language or language varieties in a speech. People may often relate this language variety with pidgin, but actually both of them differs very much in terms in which code mixing may happen within a monolingual setting where the speakers share more than one language. So, in order to create a better understanding about this language variety, we had conducted a research, this academical research, in which involved 20 band students from UNIZA as the test subject. There are three main reasons why we conducted these experiments. The first one is to identify the application of band students in committing to code mixing based on certain situations. Next, we need to identify the language domain in which we need to explain which language is more dominant than the other. And the last one is to note the patterns of code mix that happens in students.
Hi, my name is Ainur Nabilah and I'll be presenting my part, which is literature review. Okay, our first articles or journal is, the first one is Mother Tongue and English, Exploring the Reasons and Functions of Code Mixing by K. Katimadi, by Mushkan 2000. He tells that code mixing is a process in which lexical items and grammatical features of two or more languages exist in the same sentences. While according to art, science and commerce, they examine the phenomenon of code mixing that exists in Facebook among university students, which they hope to identify the feature lexical of Malay items that have been coded with English morphemes. They have two objectives, which is the first one is to classify patterns of Malay code mix, while the second objective is to investigate the reasons behind university students' code mix in Facebook. Our second journal is Chapter 2, Approaches toward Code Mixing and Code Switching. It tells that code mixing involves the use of two languages at a time, although occasionally three are used. And the number of languages involved in the discourse, the language that provides the grammatical structure into which elements are inserted is referred to as the host, while the other is termed the guest language. And again, by Mother Tongue and English, Exploring the Reasons and Functions of Code Mixing, it tells that according to Bhatia and Ritchie 2004, it tells that there are several factors for code mixing, such as which, whom, about what, and when and where the speech act occurs. They also remark that the participant roles and relationship play a very critical role in bilinguals' unconscious agreement and disagreement on language choice. Whether bilinguals code mix or not, it depends on whom they talk to. That's right. Some languages are viewed as more suited to particular participant or social group setting or topics than others. They also postulate that social variables such as class, religion, gender, and age can influence the pattern of language mixing, both qualitatively and quantitatively.
Hi, I'm Hadri Bin Omar. Handling on the methodology part, yes. In terms of methodology, we have done our research before doing our research, whereby we have selected 20 students and we've done 20 questionnaires, which consists of two sections, Part A and Part B. Part A consists of the demographic, which is very important in deciding our research, and part B, inclusive of situational based questions, whereby we will test them based on informal and formal settings. Okay, this is somehow invisible to them because we did some coding in the questions so that we can know their sole answer, meaning the answers aren't set in their mind, meaning they don't know it's informal or formal. But we have our own coding, which we put at the questions the letter I and the letter F, and then after they have answered, we were to tabulate the data. Alright, in terms of the pilot study, we have done to 5 respondents, and we have selected from band 2, 4, 6 and 8, whereby 5 of each, and apparently most of the students said that it was too lengthy, it was too long, and it was time consuming. Well, this may be by the fact that we are the first to do a quantitative research based on code mixing, whereby most research done are qualitative, whereby they conduct interviews, they do verbatim transcript just to identify where does the code mixing happens. Well, this is a first for us, but somehow we believe that it is achievable in terms that the students are able to answer by we did a strategy advised by the supervisor, where she said that to make the questions smaller and to print it in B5 size, this will psychologically affect the respondents so that they wouldn't think that the questions are a lot. And again, they managed to answer, all 20 respondents managed to answer well. There were no questionnaire which was distorted or wrongly answered, and yeah, all the data has been tabulated with the SPSS system and will be shown in the findings. Thank you.
In order to gain the perfect understanding about this language variety, all of the data gained from the previous questionnaires done by the subjects were being tabulated and categorized into 2 situational based, which is formal and informal. Okay, first of all, we're gonna go with the formal one. So the first graph is the first situation that we ask the student is what language did they use when they meet with the dean. So according to the graph, about 95% of the students mainly use full English and full Malay when conversing with the dean, while the rest of them use mixed and dialect language. Next, moving on to how the second formal situational based questions is how they make their real hotel reservation. So about 70% of the students agreed that they use full Malay and English language when making a reservation, while the rest 30% choose to use mixed and dialect. Moving on, we also asked the student what language did they use when having any inquiries at the post office. So for this question, the majority, 100% of them agree that they use a full English and Malay as their preferable language when having any inquiries at the post office. So let's go to the second situational based question, which is the informal setting. So for informal setting, we have 2 graphs, which is 2 graphs based on the question given, which is asking for direction and friendly conversation. About only 20% of them exercise fully English and Malay language during their conversation, while the rest of them are more preferable to use mixed and dialect when in their conversation. The next one and the last graph is asking for direction. So, in this presentation, when asking for direction, we could see in the graph that 40% of them choose to use both Malay and English dialect, where 13.3% of them prefer to use Terengganu dialect or Kelantan dialect, or about 20% of them you manipulate the use of Johor dialect, while the rest 6.7% are more comfortable in speaking in either Kedah dialect or Penang Cantonese English.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Sharifah Atiqah binti Syed Hakim. So now let's moving on into discussion. So in our discussion that we are related to with our data analysis, there is 4 obvious data that we can find out, which is actually among the band students, there are actually code mixing because of these 4 factors that is obviously stated in our data analysis, which is the first one is the gender, the second one is about the races, and the third and the fourth one is because of the setting of the conversation that actually takes place, which includes the formal setting and also in the informal setting. So the first one, let's moving on to gender. Okay, according to our data analysis, in our discussion actually, we found out that in our data analysis, the highest frequency of the gender that are using the code mix among the band student is actually female. As we know, according to Janet Holm in her book Introduction to Sociolinguistics, it is stated that actually women are more concerned on language. So this explains why they are using this form of language, and the way they are talking according to who they are talking to and the setting which take place. This explains why they are more frequently using the code mix because they are concerned. Women are the type of person who concern more on language. Okay, next let's moving on into races. Actually, in our data finding and in our discussion, it is stated that Malay races actually has the highest percentage of using the code mix in their daily conversation. This include the Malay races in our band student as well. Because we know that Bahasa Melayu that is really well known with its richness of dialect. When that language have a really lot kind of dialect, such as we know Bahasa Melayu have a lot of dialects such as Johor dialect, Cantonese dialect, Terengganu dialect. When the language itself have many dialects to be practiced with, it actually lead the user of the language to have higher tendency of using the code mix of dialect in their conversation. So when the Malay races between the band students actually talking to each other, they tend to actually mix their conversation with their dialect. Okay, now let's moving on to the setting, which is with the code mixing among the band students take place. It has been divided into 2 settings, which is the first one is the formal setting. Okay, there are really least percentage of band students using code mix in formal setting. In formal setting, actually we know that students tend to speak formally because we know that actually when we are speaking with someone that have the highest status than us, we tend to actually speak formally. So when we speak formally, the tendency of using the code mix with our lecturer, with someone who actually have the highest social status than us, the tendency of using the code mix actually decreases. So this is the reason why in the formal setting actually the band student using the least usage of the code mixing between them. Okay. Lastly, let's moving on to informal setting. Actually, in informal setting, there is a highest percentage of students using the code mix with dialect when they are in the informal setting. Because as we know, in informal setting, we are tend to speak more freely and less conscious about the correct usage of language. Because the someone that we are talking to in informal setting actually we normally be our friends or maybe with someone that we are really close to, because code mix actually will be used to someone that we are high in solidarity and someone that we are really comfortable with. So using code mix with dialect is being used the most in the informal setting as it symbolizes the solidarity and intimacy of our relationship with someone that we are talking to. So among the band students, they are more feel comfortable to code mix when they are in the informal setting.
Hi, I'm Thivia. I'll be talking about the recommendation part. Okay, the first recommendation would be we should have purpose to communicate in a clear manner so that the person we are talking to will understand the purpose that we are trying to tell them. Okay, the second recommendation would be how and when certain language will not be appropriate. We should know that very well so that we don't hurt others' feelings or misinterpret something. Okay, the third recommendation would be students should understand in which context code mixing will be appropriate, and the choices of language will be very important in that. Okay, finally, assigning students with a tribute speech in their own home community in the dialect or language that they speak will help a lot in this research. Thank you very much. On the conclusion part, at the end of our language project, we got to know that our finding is similar to other researchers done. The objectives of our project is first, to know the application of code mixing in different situations. Second, to identify which variety is dominant. The third one is to identify which pattern of code mix is used. We got to know that all our finding is parallel to the previous research done. That's it. Thank you.